you are a musical person, you feel
harmony and noise, give and take, remember and evolve, getting back the old skills that he used to have.
that is quite a relatable situation for a lot of performers and dancers.
We need to encourage and normalise people trying things that maybe not everyone else is doing. I think society feels very limiting.
70% of drama school applicants are female.
It's about how physical training affects dance, the process to get to what looks like perfection. Hello everyone and welcome back to Movement Theories. We're at episode 2. Really glad that we're here.
It's very exciting.
And we've got a variety of topics that we have to share with you today. By common request, we have a segment on This Week in Theatre, which the wonderful Kaitlin McCann is going to
I've been allowed
lead.
back.
Yeah. And then we're going to be talking about Sean Lew and some of the stuff he's been doing, his new kind of docu-series. And then we're going to end with a debate.
You've got another section after that.
Oh, man.
We're treating them this week.
Wow.
It's we're going to talk about gender in theatre. We said we were going to have... We touched on it last week and we just thought we've got to go for it.
Yes.
So, and then we'll have our debate at the end.
So we've got quite a lot to cover.
We do.
In the next 40 or so minutes.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
Let's go. So firstly, this week, Miss Saigon has begun rehearsals for its production at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield. It's an exciting new production of the West End and Broadway award-winning musical. The story centres around the Vietnam War in 1975 and the forbidden love story between Kim and Chris, who is an American soldier. And in this production, we see Joanna Ampel playing the engineer, which is traditionally a male role. So it's really nice to see maybe some different casting.
Yes.
And see something a bit different. And, excitingly, Matthew Jackson is the assistant musical director on this show.
Wow.
And he's a local...
He is. Local
person.
Hero in the musical theatre industry.
Absolutely. We've both worked with him before and he
have.
is incredible. So anyone that gets to work with him is very, very lucky.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my
Awesome.
first exciting thing of the week. Next, another show starting rehearsals is the Crown Jewels play. And it has a very star-studded cast, including Carrie Hope Fletcher, Al Murray, Mel Gedroich and Joe Thomas, which is incredible. It tells the story of King Charles II and is said to be a very hilarious comedy. It's touring across the UK starting in July and is definitely one to look out for.
Nice.
We were talking about it before we started filming and Joe, the cameraman, is just as excited as I am.
Yes. Maybe we should get Joe on because
Maybe
he
we
seems to know
should.
more about that one than I do.
Yeah. Well, I love...
The actors, that's it.
Yeah.
I
actors.
love historical... I think I love history anyway. So I think a historical musical is amazing, or play. But I know it has some music in it. Obviously, with having Carrie Hope Fletcher in, there's got to be some music.
Yes. Isn't there a schools tour coming out? Is that King or is something? I can't remember what it's called. But you know an actor who's in that one?
We do.
Yes. Do you know what that one's called?
Oh, I don't want to get it wrong.
I know. But it's one I'm looking out for.
It's a Shakespearean one, I think.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
And we know an actor called Felipe Pacheco.
We do.
And he has just finished in Othello.
Yes.
And is
It was very
starting
good, wasn't it?
I feel like it's King some...
It's not King Lear, is it?
No.
King,
Henry. Is it just like Henry the...
It might be Henry V. Henry V?
Henry V?
I feel like it might be that.
We're
We'll
going to go
double
with
check.
Henry V.
Well, that's the Once More Into the Breach, Dear Friends one.
This is why we have an English language student.
I think he's in that one. And so that's one to look
And
out for.
he's just been announced in another one by Frantic Assembly.
Has he?
Yes.
I did not know that.
No, I sent you the post this morning.
Oh, I haven't checked. I haven't checked.
It's been very busy.
Do you know what that one's called?
It's got quite... it's like Metamorphosis or something.
Cool name.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
So Frantic Assembly is definitely a company to look
Yes,
out for.
absolutely,
They're
for
very, school friendly.
They are.
Like amazing work. So
Yeah.
really exciting. And then I also have seen this week that we've had a cast release for Halls the Musical, which
Halls.
is being directed by Andy Fickman, most well known for his work on Heathers the Musical.
Okay.
Halls is, as the title suggests, about university students in halls.
Oh,
Yes.
that's really cool.
Yeah. It's,
Okay. A musical.
yes, Flat
about that.
15B.
To be fair, if you think about university halls, there's
a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot goes on.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there's probably quite a lot of entertaining stories that will be kind of looked at in this musical.
So the cast includes previous Heather stars such as Yvonne Fergon and May Tether, but also lots of new upcoming actors, which is really exciting to see because obviously if you've got a musical about halls and university, it's amazing to be casting graduates and young actors that firstly have probably just been through that, so have a lot of experience, but
Absolutely.
also, you know, it's working with directors like Andy Fickman who really have a foot in the door. He's incredibly well known, so to be able to kind of have that and have that beginning in their career is something like really special, and that is on at the Turbine Theatre from the 7th to the 30th of July. Another play that has caught my eye is called Dear England. This opened on the 20th of June at the National Theatre. This play is a fictionalised construction of Gareth Southgate's years as manager of the England football team.
A musical?
No, a play.
It's a play.
One of the incredible things about this show is how similar the actors look to real life footballers. It is
really?
incredible. The photos were on the What's on Stage website, Instagram, and it is uncanny. Like,
so they've cast very similar to the actual footballers.
Yes, yeah.
Do you think if they're focusing on the look that maybe, I mean, I don't know what they're like as actors, as talent, but I think sometimes when they go so far, you know, in Harry Potter, they really wanted two ginger people to play the twins, and lots of people had very strong opinions on whether they actually liked the acting by the twins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, from what I've heard from the Harry Potter fan base.
No!
Yeah.
They're really well liked from what I've seen. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I like them, but I've heard from people that they...
You know that's going to be so controversial.
I guess we'll see. But do you think because they're really focusing on getting, you know, this uncanny, making sure the actors look like the actual footballers, do you think there might be a little lack in some places? Or do you think they're going to be...
I don't think so. I think they look very similar, but
Yes.
they're not trying to be identical to the footballers. But I think it's the National Theatre. Like, they're not going to cast actors that aren't going to do an incredible job.
Are any of them already established actors?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't have a list at the moment, but I'm pretty sure, yeah.
We can look into that.
The Evening Standard described it as a brilliant fusion of sport and art. And What's on Stage said the beautiful game in a beautiful play. But I think that this is a really amazing opportunity to introduce people that might not be as into theatre maybe as others, to kind of bring a really wide audience that you could bring in. You know, my family, for example,
very sporty family,
and my younger brothers maybe wouldn't be interested in going to see a play, but if it's, you know, kind of, it's obviously
football?
It's fictionalized, which they have to kind of have a disclaimer of. But if it was about something that they can relate to and they can understand, they probably find that quite interesting. So I feel like that's a really interesting concept for
them to
have.
They might prefer going to watch that than maybe being dragged along to their older sister's musicals.
Maybe they'd rather see that than Wicked or something, which is, you know, everyone's got their own taste. So
I mean, if there was a musical or a play about, I don't know, human geography, maybe my brother would actually enjoy going to watch something.
Maybe they would.
But so far he's hated everyone he's seen me in, so...
Oh, that's sad.
He's an academic.
Yeah.
Doesn't appreciate the art
They
form.
don't appreciate, yeah.
No.
Yeah. My brothers enjoyed Shrek. They had a lovely time.
Shrek's a good one. That's like a family favourite, just all round.
Can't go wrong.
No.
Yeah, well, that is all of my This Week in Theatre for this week. But let us know if you like this segment and we'll bring it back.
Yes. We can do a mix of different segments. We've got lots of different ideas.
Definitely.
If you've seen in the bios on our Instagram, so go check out our Instagrams, there is Google Forms, Google Doc Forms.
Yes.
And one of them is just generally about podcasts. We want to know your thoughts. And then one of them is about ideas. And so if you have any ideas, things you want to see, you can fill in the Google Doc form and let us know. And we look at that quite frequently.
Yeah, we do.
Just to see what people's responses are.
Yeah,
we had a good there's a phrase for it and I've forgotten. But a good response to the first one that was put out. I think we've had 42 people
That's amazing.
give their feedback on what they think just about podcasts in general and what we're doing. So that's been very helpful, and we're
Thank
very
you
appreciative.
if you were part of that
very
group.
appreciative of that.
Yes. Over to you, Joshua, for section 2.
Yes. So recently I've been seeing online a lot about Sean Lew, and lots of his Instagram reels have become very, very popular, and you would say viral, I think you could say. Lots of them have become very viral. And so it made me kind of look into him more, because he's a very interesting fella. And I found that he did recently on YouTube a docu-series, and the docu-series in question was called The New Mindset. And so I'll get onto that in a little bit, but talking to some friends that I've made before going to drama school, some of them have been absolutely obsessed with his ways of choreography. And so I thought, this channel's about movement theories.
Yeah.
Let's have a look, I think, about Sean Lew, the way he choreographs, some of the stuff he's done, a bit of his history.
Yeah.
And talk about this new series.
Amazing.
Because there's lots that I've found from that, which is super interesting and has made me reflect on myself as a performer and some of the ways that I do things, and actually how some things are kind of normal. And you see online, everything is perfect all the time. And it's quite nice to see the hard work, the imperfections. It feels quite relatable.
Yeah, when you kind of brought this up as a topic to me, and I looked kind of into his series that he's released, and it talks about how he's kind of speaking to trainers and learning new skills from them. My immediate kind of reaction was, that's such a nice thing for people to be able to see, to learn that, like, even if you are a pro, it doesn't mean that you are the best at absolutely everything. It means that you can still learn and progress and still make mistakes and not be really good. I think it shows that these people aren't like unflawed, like perfect humans.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it's nice when we see online not the perfect and everything, when we see the process to get to what looks like perfection. So he started off as a child actor.
Oh, really?
And so he had some small features in like Disney Channel, and then he did stuff with Nickelodeon. In terms of his choreography though, now he's got older, he focuses a lot on the musicality and the emotion in performance. He sometimes does it to counts, however primarily he just likes to react to elements in the music, which I think I kind of enjoy that way of creating. Counts, you get so used to it, they get a little bit kind of tedious and boring. It's quite nice just to feel the flow in the music and to not be super strict with some of your stuff that you do.
I agree.
I was going to say that leads to much more storytelling in what you do, because you're really feeling the emotion. And I was thinking maybe that's why what he does is so popular, because it kind of leads emotion, it leads a story and a narrative, and people enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that is a really beautiful way to work. And I think as someone that came to music before they came to dance, that kind of satisfies my brain in a way of like the feeling the music and the way that the music goes. For doing dance and like ignoring the counts or ignoring the way the music sounds feels so alien to me, and that can be really beautiful, but I love the kind of rising with the music, falling with the music. Like, I just think that's really beautiful, and to be able to tap into that emotion. I think if you are a musical person, you feel music can make you feel so many emotions, that him being able to tap into that is really like incredible.
Yes. So he rose to fame through the world of dance on the telly, and so his partner's called Casey, and so they're a partnership for a lot of things. They got to the final in the world of dance.
Amazing.
And then they got invited back as guests. So that's kind of where they got their popularity from. And I think it's really good that there are these opportunities out there to get yourself known and in front of an audience.
Definitely.
You know, for people to see the talent. And I think there's starting to get kind of more of that, but it'd be nice. I mean, I know that the areas that we're in are quite kind of rural Devon. We're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the best place.
But you know, once we're in London training for university, I'm sure that we're going to see so much more opportunities for things we can join in. So a lot of his choreo comes from action and reaction. And if you remember, if any of you took GCSE dance, and we do cover it in A-level, we don't study the particular little bit. He does a hip-hop contemporary fusion. Ooh. What I found is some of the best dance choreographers, some of the best styles are fusions of things.
I love a fusion.
I think when everything's just so traditional, it's like just this and just that, it just feels like we've seen that so much. And so when we look at Akram Khan, he does a contemporary Kathak fusion, which is really interesting to watch. And
I love Bruce's work and all his fusions of styles. Like,
and Yasmin Vardaman fuses loads of things together.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so I think when I'm thinking about my own styles and ways of choreography, it would be good if I could fuse more elements together.
Definitely.
Because I feel like I'm very traditional and contemporary. But once I go on to train, I'm going to be doing jazz, I'm going to be doing tap, I can start to add all these elements.
You did Afrofusion in your
We
third
did,
edition.
which was super
So
fun.
that'll be really fun to get to do more stuff like that.
And so something that I've put down is that every movement of his comes from the last. So a hand, that might then go on to move a head or a leg. A phrase that I was told was that each action has an opposite reaction, which is an interesting...
It's a Hamilton quote.
Oh, is it?
Well, actually, it's not. It's every action has its equal opposite reaction. It's actually Newton's third law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is also
sciencey.
I know. Which is also a Hamilton quote, which is now also a Sean Lew theory, movement theory.
For sure.
But see these things.
It's very cool. That's very interesting. In terms of building his popularity, so him and Casey started building a social media kind of their platform, their following, and because they're already popular in the dance community, they've done stuff with Playground and Diversity Studios. And so if you ever see these really cool dance music videos or just dance videos itself, they're done in these massive, what look like warehouse studios in America. It's what these places are.
Show me some clips last
yeah.
week. And how did you, if you don't mind me being a bit off the cuff, how did you find Sean Lew? Like, how did you find his work?
I think it was through one of his original videos, like these ones in these places, that went very viral on YouTube, like 60 million views type thing, which is really good that they go viral because it means that just some random kid in Devon goes, wow, that's really cool, and then starts
it's
kind of
really
learning
accessible.
from that. Yeah, it's really good. It's what I like about YouTube is everything is so accessible, which is really nice. So I saw that, and then I started to see more and more of his Red Bull dance battles and competitions online, which then reminded me of some of the work that he'd done and how he's still pushing his social following, which I think is what we need. We need more of. We need more people in the dance community to be really pushing themselves and their following online, because then we're going to introduce it to so many more people, which I think will be really good. And actually our next podcast kind of covers some of that topic of trends and everything like that.
Tune in for the next one.
Yes. So his dance went viral, and then his first round dance, which was one on World of Dance, which is one that did get a lot of attention, was this blindfold dance. And so it was all about their reaction and the actions reacting to each other.
Oh, I love that.
Casey. And so they were both blindfolded, dancing to the music. And it was really cool. Very, very interesting. Now, he's recently made a film. I say recently, maybe like last year, called Unspoken Narrative. And it's free on YouTube. Again, accessible, which is really good.
That's really good.
And so the concepts are learning, balance and growth, self-discovery, and it's a bit of a contemporary hip-hop kind of mix.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And so it's got different sections to it. And so the sections will have names. You've got fear and acceptance, hopes and doubts, harmony and noise, give and take, remember and evolve, and war and peace.
Oh, I like that. They're really interesting.
Which is very cool. Which is very, very cool. I have not yet watched this film. It's on my list of things to watch. However, something I have watched is The New Mindset, which is his new docu-series on YouTube. The very latest one, just like a couple months ago. And I'm about 5 episodes in. There's about 8 in total.
Amazing.
So I've still got 3 more to watch. But so this is kind of what I've taken from the first 5. It's about how physical training affects dance. And the dance moves that he used to do when he was younger is what he's trying to learn and get back, because he had a knee injury. And so it's about getting back the old skills that he used to have, which I can relate to. Because I was a gymnast. I used to be able to do loads of cool skills. And then I got post-viral fatigue for a year. I got in lockdown like everyone else did. And then I've kind of lost a lot of that ability. So something like in the last episode, we were talking about some of the acro sessions that we've done.
Yeah.
That has helped me build back some of his old skills. And the more we do, the more skills that I'm going to start
Yeah,
to
and
learn.
I feel like that is quite a relatable situation for a lot of performers and dancers. And I think growing up as well, as people get older, like life kind of gets in the way. And so I think that's a really nice topic to explore because not, you won't be the only one and he won't be the only one feeling like that.
Absolutely. So he's doing training routines and they're trying to achieve a certain goal, which I really, really like that idea of you're doing something to try and get a skill. You're doing exercises to try and get something. And so the goal that he's trying to do is a split to stand. And so he's using and training his legs and upper body. And what he does is, as he's dancing around, he goes into box splits and then he pulls his legs up together.
Wow.
And that's the skill. And I'm quite close to it. However, it's not something that I actually can do myself.
Yeah.
Also, my flexibility, I really need to work on. But I do like the idea of training towards a goal. Yeah. In gymnastics, you just be told, especially me when I was either injured or without a partner, especially because of lockdown, no younger partners got trained up, so there's no one for me to work with. I was told, just go get the weights and just try and get strong. There was a corner of mats and it was just a bunch of different weights, and all I was told was to do that. Just go and get strong, do some conditioning. And I was like, all right. And because obviously having no partner and I got some injuries, I had no particular goal to work towards and I couldn't really track my progress that much.
And I guess that helps. It means you kind of lose motivation because you don't see
absolutely.
that progress.
Yeah, so there were no like skills that I was feeling that I got better at. There was no like, oh, I can now do this. Whereas I feel like this links back to the last episode with calisthenics, some of the training you do with that. It's you're training particular bodyweight exercises and you're trying to achieve a skill. And then once you achieve that skill, you then move on to the next and you're just achieving and achieving. And I feel like that's a really motivating way of doing things.
Yeah, I really like that.
Which is really nice. So in this training, however, he does use weights and he uses them in very explosive ways because the idea is he kind of goes down in splits and he explodes back up and snaps the legs in. And so one of those examples is ball throws. So he's got a heavy ball, throwing them against the wall, catching. However, from watching, some of the hardest exercises that he was doing was body weight. And so I'm going to call this a spider crawl. And he starts in a front support and then he just steps his hands and feet out wider and wider and wider until he's hovering just above the floor and then comes back in. And you can see him working so hard doing that.
Yeah.
And actually, he seemed like he was struggling with that one more than some of these weighted exercises. And I'm a big advocate for body weight exercises. You don't calisthenics. You don't need to pay for some expensive gym membership. You just need some space in your house.
Yeah.
And you do some body weight.
And again, talking about accessibility, that's a really promoting things like calisthenics and body weight exercises means it's more accessible exercise for more people.
Yes, for sure. Now, they were talking about untapped potential, which actually is a kind of a sub. I might go on a mini ramble here. It's a subtopic that I do think is interesting. Well, I think all of the things we talk about is interesting.
Well, yes.
And the reason I think it's interesting is so many people, I mean, everyone will have untapped potential in something, but because they don't, or maybe haven't felt encouraged to try things out, they don't realise that they have this. And I think we need to encourage and normalise people trying things that maybe not everyone else is doing, because you might realise, oh, actually, I'm really good at that, and people won't find that out because I think society feels very limiting. I feel like the way society we act with each other is very much like just stay in your line. Yeah.
Oh, the sociology student in me right now is like screaming.
Absolutely, you can.
You learn about societal norms and values, and that's kind of what you're talking about. Is from a young age you are taught what is socially acceptable.
Okay.
Couldn't speak. You're kind of taught what is socially acceptable, what you're allowed to say or do, and what's weird and what's normal, and
Yeah.
But then, actually, we then talk about, well, aren't these just socially constructed ideas of actually, what is normal? Like, there is no normal, or what is meant for boys to do, or what is meant for girls to do. Actually, these are just ideas that have been made up by somebody and, like, passed down through years and years and
'Cause
years.
there's going to be tons of things out there, especially in the performing arts industry.
Absolutely.
There's going to be tons of things that people just don't realise they're good at because they just haven't tried, they haven't felt encouraged to try.
Yeah.
The amount of boys out there who might be brilliant at point work in ballet, but just haven't tried it. I mean, I've never had an opportunity to try it. I think it would be quite fun.
Yeah.
Don't know, I could be really good, who knows?
Yeah.
But so many people who have potential in things that just isn't societally acceptable for them to try. And not just like societally acceptable, but I think people should try. Don't be afraid of failing.
Yeah.
Because you've tried and you've found out kind of where you stand with a certain thing.
I think it's really easy if you're not immediately good at something to go, oh well, I'm not meant to do this. Like this is not what I'm good at. I'm not meant to try it. And I think the kind of atmosphere that we should aim to create is, well, yes, you're not, like, from this first session, you're not really good at it. But if you keep working towards it, anything is achievable, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, you could be told, I was told that I was not a dancer. Like, for...
Sorry.
Oops.
Stop fiddling.
Speaking of clumsy feet, you know,
Edit out.
You just stay zoomed in on Kaitlin for me.
I was told that I
You weren't
wasn't
a
a
dancer.
dancer, and I wasn't going to be a dancer because that wasn't something that... I mean, I had rhythm, but I wasn't initially the most coordinated of people, which I think is fair to say. But I stuck at it and I worked at it, and now I would say that maybe I'm not a dancer first, but I can dance and I can move.
Definitely.
And, you know, I've learned to tap dance. I've learned a few different styles, and I am now... I remember 2 years ago, Josh and I would dance in the hall from across from your house.
This was before you took A-level, and
Yes.
I took you to the hall to teach you some of the syllabus.
You did.
The set piece Medusa that we study,
Yeah.
I taught you half of that
You did.
before we even started the course.
I know. And I would not improvise. I would absolutely not do any improvisation.
Yeah, I
because
know. I remember.
I was so scared and I didn't want to be judged, and I thought,
Yeah.
this is horrible. I don't like
You just
it.
hated dancing in front of me without having a set list of what you were going to do.
Exactly.
You like having things
I
kind
like,
of definite.
and I can improvise. But now my favourite classes are when I get to improvise, because
Yeah. How you've changed.
Because when you're improvising, nobody's worried about what anyone else is doing. Like, they're worrying about themselves.
And no one's right.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer, which I think is kind of lovely. And so now I'm desperate. Like, any class where someone goes, would you like to improvise? I'm like, yes, let's do it, because I just love it.
It's a skill.
It is,
And I think
definitely.
it's a skill I'd like to see more as like being set in performance. Some really cool comedy stuff is like these improv games that they play with each other. You know, like the game where we go in drama in one of our warm-ups where it was like change or rewind.
Yeah.
Which is basically you're being a character and then you say something, the director shouts change, you've got to change what you've just said to something else. And so it's making everything... It's a very fun game. It's a very fun game. And I just saw this just from a comedy thing on Instagram, and I decided let's use it in a drama warm-up. I think that's the same for dance and in improv. Is I'd like to see...
That would be a fun game in a dance teaching exercise, isn't it?
It would, actually. It's a good idea. I'm going to bank that one.
We'll keep that one.
I'm going to bank that
Pencil
one.
that one in.
But I think in an actual show, I'd like just like a 5-minute bit where I just see the improv skills that these dancers have, and just to see them actually improvising to the music.
This is a really fun little segue. Not to the next topic, just interesting. Not quite a dancer, but there actually is a fully improvised musical. And it's called Showstopper. And every night they get a few prompts from the audience, and then they just improvise a whole musical.
Wow. What about the music?
All improvised.
Damn.
So, I don't know huge amounts about it, but I know it's been on at the Northcote. I think it's toured. I think it's been on the West. It's a West End musical, so it's been
That's talent,
up
though.
in London.
Improvising like that on the spot
Every
is
single
talent.
night is absolutely incredible, and these actors are so talented. So it's definitely something that I'd love to go and watch if given the opportunity.
I just want to wrap up on the Sean Lew conversation. Just to say, the last bit is one of the episodes, his trainer got COVID. Which is it was reminded me of just lockdown exercise where the trainer was on a laptop, he was in the studio, and that was like, I relate. But the nice thing is you really get to see their personalities, the way they joke around with each other, the banter they have, and it's it's really nice because you get to see him more than just this finalist or Red Bull dance winner. You get to see him as a person. And I think it's nice. I want to see more kind of celebrity performers or dancers kind of doing stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not like a dance robot. They're just normal people. Which, that's why like Lewis Capaldi's so successful, because he's a normal person, isn't he?
For sure, yeah. And his recent performance
at Glastonbury
that he had, and then there was a message on his Instagram.
Yes, I saw that.
It's very sweet, and I think it's nice that he's got that support.
Yeah, amazing.
From his fans. I feel like 10, 15 years ago, maybe it would be different. But I feel like
definitely.
I feel like society has improved like a lot.
We're getting there.
Yeah, improving.
I think improving, like sure. Current word.
Yes.
We've made some progress.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing lots of positive kind of new aspects in the industry though.
Yes.
And lots of different
definitely. We'll get on to that in the next subject. Are we ready?
So now we're talking about gender in theatre.
Yes.
Which is...
I'm very excited.
It's a very exciting topic.
It is.
I feel like I've got a fair bit. I mean, I have no preparation for this one.
Yeah.
You've got a whole sheet, but I've got a fair bit that I can add to what you say.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, I've got some like statistics and things we can talk about, but also we've got a lot of like personal experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Just from being people in the industry, no matter what gender we are.
And I think also just adding on to gender in theatre a little bit is then being kind of new in theatre.
Yeah.
Because I'm new. I can say that, especially relatively new. And when I was new, it wasn't too long ago.
So how long have you been doing theatre for?
2 years.
2 years. I've been doing theatre for 14 years.
Yes. However, I've been performing since I was like 6.
Yeah.
I think my first gym competition I was 6. So.
Yeah. So, you've got lots of experience.
For sure.
So I kind of initially wanted to talk about how generally, and I'm saying this from experience. Cheeky. Yeah. Lovely bit of audio for you there.
There you go. Sorry.
Generally, theatre, I think, saying this from probably a slight place of privilege is that it's generally quite an inclusive space,
Yes.
You see a lot of different genders and sexualities and things like that being often celebrated in theatre. And it's, we see drag performances, you see all sorts of kind of more inclusive stories. And especially now we're having more theatre that celebrates LGBTQ plus people and their stories, like everybody's talking about Jamie and the prom. And I had another example. And 6, seeing all kinds of women of all colours, shapes, sizes, ages on stage together, singing. Like, I think it's great. And I think the progress we have made, even in the last 5-10 years, is so wonderful because I am fortunate that as like a white cis woman, there's quite a lot of representation for people like me on stage, like there are people, like Carrie Hope Fletcher, who I bring up a lot, but there's like a lot of famous actors that will probably look like me. But it's incredible to see such diverse, more, like, I know we're not perfect, but more diverse casting in things such as 6, where, you have women, like I said, of all ethnicities, and we have seen non-binary people in 6 as well. Like, that one is such a good example of inclusivity in theatre.
And it was made by students, wasn't it?
Yes, it was written by 2, I believe, Cambridge students.
Which, would you say that might be one of the big contributing factors to the reason is it's got current people who created it are kind of not our generation, they're older than us now, but they're not like these.
They're only like 24, 25, I'm pretty sure.
So not too much older.
I feel really bad because I can only remember one of their names. One of their names is Toby Marlow. And I'm going to kick myself for not remembering her name.
But I'll still say like 26, 24, that's like just a little generation just above, kind of, a little bit.
All our older listeners are going,
8 years.
How dare you?
8 years older. But it's nice because, the way they approach things are very similar to how we do. And it's their thoughts on things like gender and colour and representation will be much more modern. Yeah. Whereas I feel like there's so many directors out there who or or choreographers, whatever, who are these a little bit older.
I think that's fair.
Which I think is fair to say.
Yeah.
And maybe don't always have as much of an understanding. Andrew Lloyd Webber, for example.
Yes.
Bit older.
Yes. I think we've seen a lot of revivals of shows that, you know, we think we've seen enough of and we've seen them for years. But actually, I think, you know, some revivals and some shows like Les Mis will never die, in my opinion. I am a diehard Les Mis fan, and that show will never die and it will never get old.
Yeah.
But like shows, I think even revivals now are kind of becoming a bit more inclusive, and things like Parade are really celebrating different ethnicities. And, you know, I think it was really sad what happened. Parade has just been revived on Broadway with Ben Platt and Michaela Diamond, who I would absolutely kill to go and watch. Like that.
Not on my send on Broadway.
On Broadway, yeah. I would love to go and watch that. But on their opening night, the story is about a Jewish man who is wrongly imprisoned. And on opening night, they had neo-Nazis protesting at their opening night. Yeah. Which is really sad and really quite scary that is still
a thing.
And, you know, they were trying to turn people away. But they carried on and they soldiered through and they did the whole thing, and it just showed how much bigger and better the community is, and how, you know, you can try and ruin something as incredible and wonderful, celebrating all of that, you know, and it won't work because it's not worth it. Yeah. There's too many good people in the world, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's nice to see more updated revivals and more interesting shows with a bit of diversity and more inclusivity in general.
For sure.
But I have some statistics for you because I know you love a statistic.
Let's hear some statistics.
Okay, so from a 2021 statistic from European Theatre Statistics, 43% of characters on stage were female compared to 57% were male. So we're like relatively equal, but not, again, more male than there are female, which is interesting. But shows written or directed by women are more likely to be equal gender-wise. Like, we can see... I think you can kind of understand... I mean, I don't know. I think you can kind of understand that as in, like, Shakespearean times. Women... Oh, actually, no, it was according to the Greeks. So according to the Greeks, it was too dangerous for women to appear on stage.
Right.
The ancient Greeks decided that being on stage was too dangerous for a woman, and so therefore the men played the female parts. And this happened up until about Shakespearean times, when they started getting women on stage. My next statistic is that male musical theatre writers outnumber female writers 9-1.
Whoa.
In the UK.
That's a massive amount.
Huge, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So 1 in 10 musical theatre writers are women. Sorry. I was like checking my mental math then so I didn't look stupid. Yes. Which is insane, isn't it?
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it sounds crazy because 70% of drama school applicants are female, according to a 2020 statistic. But the industry actually is relatively male dominated. And if you just even do a tiny bit of research into it, it shows you actually a lot of the high up people, like producers, directors, writers, all of that are male. It is a male dominated industry. And I don't know whether there's a particular reason for that, but most industries are male dominated. And so I can't lie that it's a surprise, you know, it's not a huge surprise to me. But it is a sad statistic.
Yeah, because it's really interesting from an amateur level, and joining in, you know, a couple of years ago, I was like, damn, there isn't really that many, you know, guys doing things. Kind of just move on. And then like you think about actually the industry as a whole,
Yeah.
is like, really? What?
Yeah, well, if you
Where are they getting all
say
these men from?
you're a bit of a theatre novice, if you could name some writers of shows, I can guarantee you most of them would be men.
Damn.
Go on. Name some. I'll challenge you.
I'm going to try and...
You've already done one today.
Have I?
Yeah. An old man.
Oh. Yes.
Sorry.
No, okay. Yeah, so he's done a lot.
Angela Weber.
He's done a lot.
Yes. He wrote Jesus Christ Superstar when he was 21. I found that out this morning.
Wow.
And so Jesus Christ Superstar is a huge musical. That's
he's definitely
incredible.
got like writing talent.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to name The Lion King.
Who wrote that though?
I've no idea.
Oh, that was the point.
I don't know who wrote anything.
You do. Who wrote Hamilton?
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Very good.
Even I know that.
Yeah. Wicked.
No one wants the wicked.
That one.
Wicked.
That was Stephen Schwartz.
Oh.
What about Into the Woods? Really famous. You went to his concert. Absolutely not.
James Corden. James Cameron.
No.
Oh. Who is James Cameron?
No. I have no idea.
Avatar.
It's another.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
It's another Stephen.
Stephen Sondheim.
Yes.
My G.
Everyone at home is screaming at the camera right now.
I was
Everyone
on that
listening.
stage.
Alan Menken wrote Newsies and Little Shop of Horrors.
Wow.
But all of these are men. And I'm not saying that there are not female ones. There are many female writers, but just not as many as men. And a lot of the male ones are, much really,
So I
well
think
known.
kind of a conclusion we've come to is we need more female writers.
Yes. And so
Or maybe
again,
there is female writers. We need to use the female writers that we have.
So my actual final statistic is that only 13% of shows on Broadway are written by women. Yep. And even worse, the statistic, when I was researching this, the statistic for non-binary writers was so small that they said it was statistically impossible to measure. That it was so tiny.
Would you say, though, that's because there are just less?
That is a true possibility. Mm-hmm. But like for writers on Broadway, it probably means there's about one or two.
Yeah.
Which is very sad. But I think maybe as the industry grows,
because I'm thinking
change.
actually give it like another 5-10 years.
It'll probably change.
I'd like to hope that these statistics do drastically change.
Oh, definitely.
And I feel like we've come a long way.
We have. And there's a lot more awareness now. And people that have the use of social media to kind of raise their voice about these things.
I think we're like, the amount of time it's taken for us to kind of get to this point is going to take us like half the amount of time.
Yeah.
To kind of double that. It's like
apparently I just looked up a statistic for you.
Thank you, Cameraman Joe.
Population of there's throughout the whole population only 0.06% of people are non-binary.
Wow.
So that probably would be a contributing factor.
It is.
To the reason.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Again,
so I wonder how many of our viewers are non-binary.
Yes.
In our statistics.
Yes. Do we say leave a comment if you are me?
No, I don't think we
that
need to.
feels like a strange thing to request.
Let's see our genders.
Yeah, so that's a nice conclusion.
Yeah. So in conclusion, we've kind of discussed, is theatre becoming more inclusive? And I think it is becoming more inclusive, but I don't think it's at its peak of inclusivity yet. But I think we can appreciate kind of a march of progress view of actually it is getting better. We have shows like Six, like, the ones I listed earlier, that are bringing more inclusivity to the industry, which is amazing. And I think maybe at another time we'll discuss kind of how, we're, again, a cis man and a cis woman, but, gender has still affected our kind of experiences in the industry. So maybe at another point we'll talk about our personal experiences.
And once we get to September and I'm going to be at uni, bin Kaitlin off, because she'll be doing her course and stuff. You're going to see
I'll come back every so often then.
Oh, of course.
If you'll have me.
You'll see I'm lucky if they want to keep me around. This might be the Kaitlin podcast.
Maybe.
But you'll see a much more wide or much more diverse
we'll get everyone on.
Selection of guests from my course, from people that I've met doing things. And so we'll have a lot more interesting faces.
I vote Felipe. This is my call out to Felipe.
Yes, Felipe Pacheco.
I want him on the podcast.
If you're watching this, I'd be so proud if you were. We'll get him on at some point.
Is watching this.
I
really hope so.
I'll get a behind the scenes reaction of Josh finding out that Felipe has heard this.
He is my favourite. He is my absolute favourite. So we were going to do a debate, and the debate topic was going to be...
Is it who you know or what you know?
However, for reasons of time, we're going to...
Save it for the next episode.
Save that for the beginning of next episode.
Cheeky.
We're going to start with a debate.
Leave them all in suspense.
I know. And then we'll get on to the rest of the things that we're going to talk about.
Sounds good.
So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much.
Our
Cameraman Joe's going to sneeze. Whoa. Oh, it's gone.
It's a good way to end.
It's gone.
It's a good way to end.
Anyway, thank you for watching. Let us know what you think.
And we'll see you... Sorry, we're so bad at outro.
Let us know what you think of the podcast and if you have anything to say on the subjects we've discussed today.
Yes.
That's me done. You go.
I'm pretty much finished with that. Like, subscribe, all of those things we really appreciate. Show us your support in the comments. Show us that you've watched this far. If you have watched this far, the word to comment is sweet banana.
I was going to say Felipe Pacheco.
Maybe. If he stumbles upon the video, he's like, why is my name just in the comments?
Yeah.
He'll be confused.
True. Maybe stick with,
We'll go with sweet banana if you've watched this far.
Left that.
And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. No one is commenting sweet banana.